Cowboys Pregame Live is brought to you by AT&T and by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl.
AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, where a week ago today, the Dallas Cowboys suffered their first loss in nearly 60 days, and now Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons come to town. Redemption is on hand for the NFC East first place Dallas Cowboys. It is Week 10 of the NFL season, thus Week 10 of Cowboys Pregame Live. Welcome into the Star in Frisco in the Globe Life Studios. Alongside Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Yeoman. Soon to be joined by Nate Newton, Britt Johnson, Rob Phillips, and Nick Eatman. We are here for the next 45 minutes breaking down the Cowboys and the Falcons. The Cowboys at 6-2 after a loss last week to the Denver Broncos, one of which Cowboys fans would love to put in the rearview mirror, and a win going a long way in doing so against the Falcons today.
Yeah, I think this team just has to show up and be that dominating team that we've seen in the past. I mean, last week we know they kind of overlooked that Broncos team. They weren't themselves out there. But going into this week, if they can just get back to that dominating fashion that we've come accustomed to seeing, I think they'll be fine and they'll get the W this afternoon.
Simply put, these guys didn't show up to work.
Yeah.
You know, these guys didn't show up. Everybody has a day where they don't want to go to work or they just don't perform that well at work. This was that day for the Cowboys. And unfortunately, it happened against a foe that we should have taken care of. But now I think they have an opportunity to come back, bounce back, not allow that to happen, and then obviously go forward and push through the rest of the season.
Thank goodness none of you guys ever have any days like that. No, you always want to show up to work and want to break it down. Now, the Cowboys have a very crucial key part of that defense not showing up to work today, but it's not necessarily his choice. Randy Gregory placed on the injured reserve list earlier this week due to a calf strain suffered in practice. So the first week without Randy Gregory since the first month of the season. How big of a loss is this, Barry Church, for the defense? Because he's really been a key part of that.
Yeah, I think this is a huge loss for this defense. I mean, he's been one of the few guys that was able to get consistent pressure out there for this defense. You have no Tank Lawrence on that other side. They're going to have to be somebody that steps up, whether it's Dorrance Armstrong, whether it's another guy on the outside, or whether it's Parsons coming off the edge as well. Someone's going to have to step up and fill his shoes because this is a big gap for this Dallas Cowboys defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Not having either one of our bookends is a problem, right? We don't have D-Law, we don't have Randy Gregory. So unfortunately, the next man up at the defensive end position, it has to be Micah Parsons. As much as I hate to say that, I want him at the second level, but he's leading the team with 10 tackles for loss, 14 hits on the QB, 38 solo tackles, and he's second on the team with 4 hurries. He has to be that guy for us, and everybody else, we need a round of applause because we need these guys to show up together.
So we saw that earlier in the season with Micah Parsons specifically. In week 2 of the season was where you saw him as an edge rusher. Do you expect him to have similar success? Because he had one of the best rookie pass rushing weeks of the season when he did it against the Chargers early on.
I do expect the same. I expect more of the same. You know, one of the ways in which you could throw Matt Ryan off is by getting him moving in the pocket. He doesn't like anybody around his body. His feet get moving. He gets his mechanics get out of order. So Micah Parsons has to be that guy for us, even though I like having him at the second level because he plays twice as many snaps when he's playing linebacker.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I love to see him at linebacker. Like you said, he gets to stay in the game longer. He's a 3-down linebacker. But he's also our second best pass rusher, and we have to find a way to get after Matt Ryan. We saw what happened last week when we don't get pressure on the quarterback. He's able to dissect this defense. So Micah Parsons to the defensive line, I think it's a must, man. I think it's a must.
He was under a microscope during the weeks earlier in the year when he played off of the pass rush and off of the edge spot. Another player under the microscope this week is going to be Trayvon Diggs, and it's not necessarily for the good reasons. Trayvon Diggs, over the last 2 weeks, 7 receptions on 10 targets. He's given up a couple touchdowns. This coming after his fire start to the season, his red-hot start to the season. Those interceptions are never leaving the books. He has 7 of them, rather. But has his overall performance lived up to the expectation?
I would say it has lived up. I mean, the guy has had 7 interceptions in 6 weeks, and no matter how you're slicing the cake right there, he's doing something good. Now, is there some things with his game, the smaller things, the little nuances of the game that could help take him to the next level? Of course, there's nobody perfect out there. But I don't know where this team or where this defense would be if it wasn't for Diggs and the plays he's been able to make so far this season. So I'm saying he's not overhyped. He's right where he should be.
I agree, BC. I don't believe that he's overhyped, but he is going to have to continue to show up in some way. He's kind of been ghost these last few games. Through the first games, I mean, he's first in the league in interceptions with 7 interceptions, but he's 9th in the league in terms of targets. So that doesn't add up, right? So something that teams are seeing on film, they feel as if they can exploit him. They can put him out there on the island. He's taking big risks, but also with big risk come big reward. But We need to see what he can do because teams are not threatened by him right now, apparently.
No, they're definitely going to challenge him on multiple occasions throughout the game today. Matt Ryan will certainly do that as well. But the Cowboys have some reinforcements on the way. When we come back, we talk about who's in, who's out with the Cowboys, and we go to AT&T Stadium when we return with more Cowboys Pregame Live.
Really, it's a slap in the face. I mean, we emphasizing on out hitting people every Sunday, and we got out hit last Sunday. So we need to make sure we come out and be some dominant people this week.
Coming back from that, is that a pride thing overall as a team, or is it just we didn't show who we are and you need to do that going forward?
You could say pride, respect, self-respect. You know what I mean? We kind of owe to Q ourselves that we're gonna come out here and win because that's what we paid to do, and we want to win games here, and we want to show people what we're capable of. But last week, that's not what we're capable of, and it's not something we want to put on film at all.
I know that performance last week will be motivation enough, but is there any extra motivation because this is, like you said, playing for Q? This is the team you used to be the head coach.
Oh no. I mean, Q's taking like any other week, just coming out, being his usual self, helping us details, emphasize on things we need to do. These suckers. Nah, it's none of that. It's just football.
But you guys do feel you let him down.
Oh, for sure.
What would you say the vibes like this week in terms of that sort of bounce back mentality?
You just see the focus is a little different. Everybody's more dialed in. Focus on what we need to do, our reads, the challenges we face. You can see everybody's just way more locked in and toned in. It was a really good, humbling experience.
This segment is brought to you by Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys are still missing a couple of pieces, much like how we talked about in the opening segment here on Cowboys Pregame Live. But the Cowboys are getting some reinforcements in a couple different areas on the roster heading into Week 10. And to tell us more on that, we're now joined by Rob Phillips from the sideline at AT&T Stadium. First off, Rob, thanks again for joining us here. And secondly, who exactly are the Cowboys getting back this week?
Well, two big names for the Cowboys, one on each side of the ball. Michael Gallup at the wide receiver position and Tristan Hill at defensive tackle. Now, Gallup missed the last 7 games with a strained hamstring, and Cedric Wilson was questionable coming into this game as well for the wide receiver core, but both guys are active, and so it'll be interesting to see how they split up the reps. But with Gallup, the Cowboys are certainly happy to get him back. Not only is he a great deep threat for the Cowboys down the field, but I would say he's arguably their best contested ball catcher, a guy who could go up, high point the football, and go get it. So Dak Prescott certainly excited, Kyle, to get him back this week. And now Tristan Hill, we'll see what he does in his season debut. Quentin Bohanna, the Cowboys rookie defensive tackle, is inactive. So he had about 25 snaps last game. I would expect Tristan Hill to kind of fill that role in a rotation with Justin Hamilton, Carlos Watkins, and Osa Odighizuwa.
Those are two areas of the Cowboys roster that have been hit pretty hard with injuries throughout the season. Certainly getting Michael Gallup back adds an extra element to the wide receiver core. But which unit is going to benefit the most from the reinforcements that are on the way?
Well, I think Gallup provides not only what we talked about in terms of his physical ability, but some juice. Just his energy. Guys love to be around him. I think that's something they need coming off this loss against Denver. But I would actually point to Tristan Hill just in terms of they need all hands on deck. You guys mentioned Randy Gregory being on injured reserve. He plays that outside position, but they've got to find something in the interior defensive line to stop the run. Atlanta doesn't run it a lot, haven't run it with a lot of success, but they've got to have more production inside than they did last week, and I think he provides some energy. The Cowboys felt like he was arguably their most improved player before tearing his ACL last year.
Definitely good news for the Cowboys there. More good news is the fact that Dak Prescott is back and healthy for the second straight week. And are there any concerns throughout the week about the calf holding up and really his full recovery from suffering that calf strain prior to the bye week?
No concerns from the Cowboys about his calf. I think physically they feel like he's doing great. One thing I would say is that last week, even though he was a full participant in practice, he didn't have everything that in terms of production in the quarterback pre-practice drills, some of the footwork drills, they kind of held him out of that a little bit, according to head coach Mike McCarthy. And he talked about it. He didn't say the word rust, but I do think rust was a factor with his footwork, his fundamentals, not driving the ball down the field. I think that was a factor in some of the missed throws that he had. So I think he feels like he's going to have a sharper, more productive performance than he did last week. The Cowboys also, I think they feel like they're healthy at the wide receiver position too.
Rob Phillips joining us here from AT&T Stadium. Thanks again, Rob. We'll catch up with you next week. Welcome back in here to the studio, and now joined by Nate Newton. And Nate, I mean, we can talk a little bit more about these inactives here coming up in a second. First, let's take a look at the full list of inactives for the Cowboys. Tyron Smith is probably the most notable name here, out for the second straight week with bone spurs in his ankle. And so now you've got a question mark at the tackle spot. But this is huge, getting Michael Gallup back off of his calf strain that he suffered week 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What does that do for this offense, getting a wide receiver like him back?
You know, he's very explosive. You know, that 9 route, he owns that 9 route. The quick slant, that's where he's good at. We're adding him, just give us one more explosive opponent right there on the outside.
Now, Terrence Steele back at left tackle. He's going to have to protect for Dak Prescott as well. But let's keep talking about Michael Gallup. Does this open things up as well for Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb as well?
You know, when you have Amari dealing with that hamstring and CeeDee Lamb coming off probably arguably his worst game last week, this guy here adds just a little bit more energy in the room. It makes guys focus a little bit better. And now we have to figure out how we do these other guys. Does Said go back to the 4th? Do they split reps? So it's just one better weapon, one more time they have a big playmaker on the field.
Now there you see Gallup stretching next to Cedric Wilson. Those two will certainly play a big role in this, but we also had this conversation last week. Let's continue it with Terrence Steele at the left tackle spot. He is anticipated to start for the second straight week. Do you like the decision, and what did you see from him last week against the Broncos?
Through this whole game, man, you know, he got beat up a little bit, but, you know, he kept his technique. He kept playing hard. And what I liked after the game, he said he will come back and be a better player this week. That means he's going to take extra time to look at extra film so he can be a better player. This guy has never disappointed me from his rookie year to his second year moving to right tackle full time, now going to this left tackle. I expect for this kid to have a great week.
He's one of the more improved players across the board for the Cowboys from last year to this year. Can he be improved from week 9 to week 10? That is the question going to be answered today. When we come back, how about Matt Ryan? He's led the Falcons to 3 wins in 4 games. How does Dan Quinn prepare for his former quarterback?
This segment was brought to you by Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
After a game like that, does your sense of pride take over and push you even more, or is it just, I guess, what is your approach after a game like that as a group, and you think that's an uncharacteristic performance?
Yeah, like you said, uncharacteristic. We do have to, take a look at ourselves and, what went wrong, and it does kind of turn to a pride thing, and just for ourselves, for our teammates, for our fan base, just not go put that on tape.
Dak felt like it was the first game that y'all weren't a more physical team. Why can you point to what caused that and what you do to make sure it doesn't happen again?
I can't really point to what caused that, but all we can do is, focus on that, from this point on, that that doesn't happen anymore. And that's being physical has been our MO this year, and it's kind of been our calling card. And so we got to find a way to get back to that. And I got faith in our guys.
There are just two quarterbacks since week 3 of the NFL season up near 70% completion. That's Kyler Murray and Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan making his way to AT&T Stadium as we're joined again by Barry Church and Isaiah Stanback. Big reason for his uptick since week 3 are really the play of some of the weapons around him. No Calvin Ridley for the Atlanta Falcons for notable reasons. He said he was taking some time away from the game of football, but they do have some pretty good weapons around him with Kyle Pitts as well, the rookie from Florida, a tight end that plays exceptionally good football as a pass catcher. Here are some of the stats: 15 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions for Matt Ryan. And Dan Quinn, being the former head coach of the Falcons, knows Matt Ryan pretty well.
Yeah, I think to get a hold on Matt Ryan, it's going to have to definitely start with the defensive line. I mean, we saw what happened last week when the defensive line doesn't get pressure, the quarterback is able to dice his secondary apart. And this may not be, the Matt Ryan of old, the MVP Matt Ryan, but he still has the capabilities of doing damage to your defense. He has the weapons, like you said earlier, Kyle Pitts and Cordarrelle Patterson out there. So this D-line is going to have to get pressure on Matt Ryan, or it has an opportunity to be a shootout.
Yeah, absolutely, BC. We cannot allow him to sit back there and have all day to throw the ball. His nickname is Matty Ice for a reason.
Yes.
The man throws dimes whenever he has the ability to. He has over 71% completion rating over these last 5 games, 103 passing rating. So if you give him time, he will pick you apart. But the thing is, these guys don't have a run game. So let's go ahead and take that away, and then we can really hone in on making sure that we stop him.
Do you think Dan Quinn has an advantage with it being his former team, knowing the goods and the bads and drawing up a game plan?
Yeah, absolutely. Aside from the fact that he's a defensive coordinator, I mean, he was the head coach, and the head coach and the quarterback have a heck of a relationship. So he knows everything that he does well. He knows all the things that really cause him issues. So hopefully he dials some of that up today.
Yeah, you're 100% right. He knows the strengths and weaknesses of Matt Ryan. They've been together for so long. So hopefully his defense can help exploit that, and we can go ahead and get a win this afternoon.
So with that being said, is this the perfect week on the other side of the football for a team like the Cowboys, who have seen this Falcons defense previously, to rebound offensively because they did not have a great week against the Broncos in week 9? Can they rebound against the team that, at least statistically, Barry, does not stack up to what the Cowboys have faced recently?
Yeah, without a doubt, I think they can bounce back and rebound. I think Dak Prescott's going to get his chemistry, his timing back with these receivers. And I don't expect them to get dominated with the time of possession or on third down like they did last week. And I also expect this offensive line to have a better showing. I mean, they had Dak Prescott running for his life out there, and we can't have that and expect to be successful. So if we can do those things, I believe this offense can get back to that scoring points mentality, that leading mentality, and we should have a good afternoon.
The reality is, BC, the first 6 games, we averaged 34 points a game. The last 2 games, we've averaged 18. So if you were out there and you're hunting, this is wounded prey in terms of defensive coordinators around the league. So I'm challenging Kellen Moore to step up, call his best game, bring out his biggest bag, and make sure that these guys are successful on the offensive side of the ball.
What would that entail for Kellen Moore to have his best game?
Be versatile. Make sure that you get the ball in your playmakers' hands and make the game easy on Dak.
It's going to have to rely on Dak. And good thing for Dak is that Atlanta has the lowest pressure rate out of any team in the NFL. He's going to have time to throw the football, even with guys like Terrence Steele, who struggled last week. Maybe it's a good week for him to rebound, like Nate was talking about last segment as well. When we come back, we're joined by Jourdan Lewis. Britt Johnson sat down with him earlier in the week.
What's your impression of watching Kyle Pitts and what he's capable of doing in this offense?
Good young player, talented. They find ways to give him the ball, and he's good at what he does. So, a lot of respect for him. Being a young player and being able to make the impact that he's making already. So it's going to be a good challenge.
How much does Ryan look at him first? Does he kind of rely on him a lot?
It's kind of typical with when you got a player that can make some plays. You're looking to get them the ball, so it just goes along with he has a young player that he can get the ball to, and he can make some plays. So he's always going to look for him to be a guy that can create a mismatch.
Just about 40 minutes till kickoff between the Falcons and the Cowboys. Welcome back in to Cowboys Pregame Live. Kyle Yeoman's here, now joined by the great Britt Johnson. And Britt, Jourdan Lewis has a pretty tough assignment this week with Atlanta's offense, and you got a chance to catch up with him earlier in the week.
I did. We actually spoke a little bit about last week's game. Do you learn or burn the film? He answers that question, and he also talks about how he's going to be able to cover a guy like Cordarrelle Patterson. Now, when you go back and, you know, it's time to look at film and stuff, is this a moment where you learn from or just burn the tape? Like, was this just a random bad game or something that you could actually learn from here?
No, you always learn from, you know, the L's especially. See what your next opponent is going to try and do to you, and that's definitely what, you know, I feel like a lot of the guys on game plan going into these next few weeks. So, I mean, we look at it, see what we did wrong, and try and fix it, because that's how I know we're going to get attacked.
All right, so this next one, I don't know how I feel about asking you this, but you played at Michigan. I am personally an Ohio State fan.
Wow.
You have a couple guys. My grandma's from Ohio. I got to rock with Granny, okay?
Granny was Ohio State alum?
No, she didn't go to college. But she was a Buckeye fan, and you have several guys on your team like Malik Hooker, Zeke, Noah Brown. They all went to Ohio State. You guys match up every year towards the end of November. This year it's November 27th. What is that Saturday like? Do you guys still have like this rivalry where you guys are going at each other?
I mean, of course. I mean, that start from the beginning of the week. I mean, from the beginning of the season. Like, we talk about that matchup and, you know, what it's going to mean, and, you know, the matchup. I mean, this year it's going to mean a lot. Especially if we keep winning. So, I mean, I'm excited to see.
I'm just saying right now, Ohio State's 6 and you guys are 9. And then
no.
You guys are 6.
Seven.
Okay.
7.
No. I just checked it right now.
No, we 6 now.
You guys are 6 for the college football playoff.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Okay.
That's all that matters.
Well, that also means you guys aren't in it yet. Just saying. Okay. I'm going to have to join this little battle because really I think there's only one other Michigan guy on your guys' team right now, and you guys got a couple Ohio State guys. So they're coming for you. You gotta be barking loud for this.
No, they know I am. They know I am.
All right. Most difficult guy currently in the league for you to cover, and why?
It's a few. I mean, we got some guys on this team. I'd say probably Amari Cooper, one. He's shifty and he's fast. I mean, he can run all the routes and he can go deep. And probably my last matchup, Jerry Jeudy. He's pretty good.
Yeah,
he can run routes too. I mean, all those Alabama guys from South Florida. I mean, they pretty much do all the same things and can get in and out of breaks. So, I mean, those guys are pretty good.
So I have a question. You guys are going up against the Falcons this week. Patterson, he's listed as a receiver, but he kind of lines up at running back sometimes. Are those guys a little more difficult to cover just because they're more versatile, or does that matter at all?
I mean, it's hard to game plan for, especially if you get him in different spots like he always is. So, I mean, when you see a guy like that can do everything, can catch the ball, run the ball, I mean, return the ball. So it's kind of hard to, you know, you definitely got to put your, star on that guy and make sure he's in the game plan.
All right, we are done with some football questions, but for our next question, I got to ask, what was your mama, I made it moment in the NFL? Like, what was that moment where you were like, dang, like, I'm really here, like, I really did this?
I don't know, because my first game, we played the Broncos and got whooped on, and that was my first interception.
Okay.
I was like, dang, man, I'm here. And I'm just like, I see all the seal, like, orange, and I'm just like, God, man, this is so much different than, college. So I'm just like, that was probably my moment where I was just like, in Denver, I mean, Mile High City, and it was
I mean, they traveled this last week too. Like, there was a ton of orange, fans in the stands, orange jerseys and stuff like that. So I could imagine how crazier it is there.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Cowboys would love to have another big interception from Jourdan Lewis today. He had one in that game a couple years ago against the Denver Broncos. He played pretty well last year in Week 2 against the Atlanta Falcons. If he can continue that, well, the Cowboys would certainly take it. Now, the Cowboys, you can catch that entire interview on DallasCowboys.com. There you see some of the live shots. Trayvon Diggs, what kind of game will he have? And we'll also tell you how to keep the pregame coverage rolling on DallasCowboys.com when we return.
I assume you had to play Terrell in college at least once or twice, or did you know him in the draft process?
No, I didn't play him at all. I just knew, I knew of him, big name corner out of Clemson. But other than that, I like the way he plays though. Very tall, rangy, ball skills.
I guess I forget y'all even played Atlanta last year. I guess did you win against them in the game last year?
No, I was more important. I was mostly in the slot, yeah, for sure. So I just got the safeties and nickel.
What's your impression of just watching their secondary on tape to this point?
I've been watching them for about my first couple years, so seeing them last year. Very physical, man. They're a very physical group, and you can see they play with a lot of confidence. Looking to get the ball out. Linebackers do a great job of just, exploiting the offense and kind of being disruptive. So it's going to be a fun task we have up here.
When you rolled your ankle in practice last week, did you ever think that you might not be able to play in the game?
No, that's not really a thought process. Honestly, I knew what I did. It was pretty bad. I mean, it is what it is. But I knew going, right after it happened, that I was going to play in the game regardless.
Did you feel like it held you back at all on Sunday?
Yeah, I wouldn't say held back, but I definitely wasn't feeling my best.
How would you explain that performance on offense last week? Was it just a bad day at the office? We are not focused?
Bad day. It's kind of on a bad day. That's all it was.
Cowboys Pregame Live was brought to you by AT&T, SWBC Mortgage. Join the more than 120,000 customers that we've helped to find their happier way home. Visit swbcmortgage.com to find a pro today. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl.
Cowboys continuing their warm-ups from AT&T Stadium as they prepare to take on the Atlanta Falcons. And we're just getting warmed up on Cowboys Pregame Live. You can flip on over to DallasCowboys.com for continued pregame coverage as we lead you up to kickoff, noon Central Time on Fox. We'll have sights and sounds from last year's watermelon kick and a live interview with Stephen Jones. But for our entire Cowboys Pregame Live crew, enjoy the game, everybody. We'll see you on the internet side of things in a moment.
What will it mean this week coaching against Atlanta for the first time?
Well, I think, one, I have great memories for there, and I always will. And I think a lot of the really cool and things that we accomplished there, and there were a lot of them, versus how it ended. And I think that's an important declaration. I'll certainly be forever grateful to Arthur to give me the opportunity there, and to all the players I had the privilege to coach. But you guys saw the performance yesterday, so there is no time to take a stroll down memory lane. We got some to fix. So I'll be right where my feet are, right where I'm supposed to be, going after it as hard as we can, worrying about the jerseys that I coach now, and we'll throw a hell of a week.
Understanding you're not going to answer a lot more on that, but is it bittersweet? I mean, are you able to look at just because it was such a long period of time?
Yes, that's correct. Well, I'll say I did that. And then when I started here, I started fresh again. And so that's, to me, why there was some separation. I wasn't there 3 weeks ago. And so this is my team. This is who I'm with, and this is my crew. So, like I said, I always will think of the memories, but I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Minute 52 left. 2nd and goal at the 1. Prescott's going to keep it. Touchdown, Prescott.
The way Jourdan, the kicker, approaches this onside kick here, he's not using a tee.
Jourdan dribbles it to the left, hadn't gone 10 yards. Big scramble for it as it has gone 10 yards. Cowboys think that he got it.
Atlanta just let it roll, and it went 10, and the Cowboys have the football.
Thrown out, caught, first down. Lamb down the sideline, 30. Lamb inside the 30 and tackled at around, right on the 30-yard line. No timeouts. Good snap. Good hold. 46 yards. Yes, sir.
Sights and sounds from the watermelon kick, one of the more memorable wins for the Dallas Cowboys over the last couple of seasons. And, well, it's the scene of the crime going all the way back to week 2 of 2020. Now in week 10, the Atlanta Falcons return to AT&T Stadium. Back with Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans, continuing our pregame coverage for the Cowboys and the Falcons. No Greg Zuerlein this week, and we'll talk about that coming up in a couple of moments. But you could argue that that's one of the reasons Dan Quinn is in Dallas, was that loss for the Atlanta Falcons. He spent 6 seasons as the head coach for Atlanta. How has he reinvented himself in his first season here in Dallas?
Well, I think he's made a complete turnaround with that defense. And he showed that he's one of the better defensive minds in the NFL right now. Because last year, let's be honest, this defense was not good at all. They were historically bad. And now they're coming around. They're taking the ball away. They're playing that bend but don't break style of defense. And it's helped this team as a whole get a lot of victories out there. So I think he's just reclaimed one of his spots as being one of the defensive geniuses in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he's done 2 things for this team. He's brought culture. He's brought a culture of hard work, regardless of how much you get paid. A best guy plays, and then he's also understanding of personnel. The personnel groupings. Based upon the guys that he has, he matches them up well for the best opportunity for this team to be successful every week. It doesn't matter who you are.
And the great thing about it, man, is like you said, Isaiah, he's put pieces in place and guys understand who they are. But more importantly, he's getting them to play hard. He's getting them to play consistent in what they do every week.
Yeah, it certainly has been. It's been a complete turnaround, and Dan Quinn a huge part of that. Now, that defense needs a bit of a rebound. They gave up 30 unanswered points last week to start, but rebound's been the buzzword around the Star all week long. I mean, this is a rebound sort of game. So how does Dak Prescott also live up to the billing after the week he had last week? There you see his numbers. He had the 2 touchdowns. He had the yardage, but most of that, gentlemen, came very late in the football game. He was really shut down by the Denver defense, the number 2 scoring defense in the NFL. He's still 5th in completion percentage in the league, but what do you need to see from Dak Prescott this week?
I think I just need to see that timing, that chemistry with his receivers get back to where it was. I mean, there was a lot of drop passes, there was a lot of overthrows and kind of skips into the receiver last week against Cleveland. I think this has to do with a little bit of rust. He was injured, 2 weeks off. Now I think with a long week under his belt, he should get back to his consistent ways, efficient ways. And if he's doing that, I think the sky's the limit for this offense.
I need to see Dak get back to his mechanics. Last week, his mechanics were off. His footwork was bad. Need him focusing on his shoulder elevation, his elbow height, his delivery, his release points, all those things that really make you a good, efficient quarterback. Those are things he has to get back to, and I think we'll see the Dak of the first 6 games.
Can you leave me something? All I'm gonna say, hey Dak, pop your hips this week, baby. Step through your throws, cause Isaiah have given you the whole school of thought.
He left all of it, and he had all of the different points all the way through. Dak Prescott had a couple points of his own. Here's what he had to say about needing to rebound this week.
What's the mindset going into this week after last week's performance?
Yeah, we got to get things rolling on every phase of this offense. As a team, we've got to get back to who we are, standard expectation of playing. And it's been started out here at practice, started at the beginning of the week, and just continuing to build on that to make sure we carry it and take it into the performance on Sunday.
Notice anything on film that they did that stopped you guys? Was there a blueprint?
No, I don't think it was a blueprint. I just don't think we played a great game, starting with myself. Played my worst game of the season. I think we can look around at all different phases. I'm sure some of the other guys have said the same. So, I mean, this week it was about taking accountability, about finding ways to get better individually, making this unit better, just being better for our team to make sure that we don't have a performance like that again.
Sure, any loss is frustrating, but when you play poorly like that, does it fester or weigh on you more than maybe if you play great and still lose a game?
I mean, a loss is a loss. I mean, they all suck. But yeah, when you don't play as well as I expect to play, yeah, it hurts. I mean, you've got to come out here and you've got to use that as motivation and just use that as a way to find a way to get better, find a sense to get better, whether it's 1% or whatever it is, whether it's on the field or off the field, in my preparation, just to make sure that doesn't happen again.
So that's what Dak had to think about his bounce-back game this week. Now, Barry, you could say the same thing about the run game. Nate, I mean, you blocked for run games that needed bounce-back performances, and the Cowboys need that there as well. Based off of the matchup here, the front seven for Atlanta has not been that impressive this season. They have not had that push at the line of scrimmage. Is this a chance for Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott to have a big day?
I would say so. I think we need to lean on Zeke and Pollard as well to get this offense rolling. I mean, like you just said, this Atlanta defense has not been the best against the run game. So I think Zeke and Pollard can eat well. And it also makes this kind of a pick your poison type offense. And that's when I think this offense is at its best, when they don't become one-dimensional like the Broncos made them last week. Pick your poison is the best option for this team. Hopefully they can get this run game started early and often.
You know, they have Grady Jarrett up front. He's a big stud, but if you can contain him in the middle, you should be okay, man. When you got Tony Pollard, you got Zeke going at a good rhythm, like you said earlier, Church. We want to be a two-way offense, and the only way to do that is to have that running game going.
Atlanta has had a ton of turnover in that front seven. A lot of young guys that are still not playing up to the par that they would like to see in Atlanta, but they're still going to be challenged with the slew of different weapons that the Cowboys have. We mentioned Zeke, we mentioned Pollard, Michael Gallup back for the wide receivers, but Atlanta has their own weapons that they will bring to the table throughout today's ball game. And with more on that, let's go back to Britt Johnson, who Isaiah Stanback will give more information for in this Atlanta offense and the weapons they present.
Thanks so much, Kyle. Britt Johnson here with Isaiah Stanback. Now, Isaiah, we have a Cowboys player that likes to be a positionless player. He doesn't want to be called a linebacker. He doesn't want to be called an edge rusher. That is Micah Parsons. Well, what if I told you that the Falcons have a similar player on their offensive side of the ball, and that's Cordarrelle Patterson. He has been killing it. He's running back, receiver, and Mike McCarthy this week actually compared him to Devin Hester as one of the best returners in NFL history. Now, he's going to be a problem for this team, but that's why I have this guy here, because he has some solutions for us. Now, what are the problems and what are the solutions that this man brings up?
Yeah, this is just one of the best athletes that the NFL not only has in the league today, but one of the best guys that they've ever seen. And reason being because this guy can do absolutely everything. You just heard Britt talk about it. Look at some of these stats: 38 receptions, 459 receiving yards, 278 on the rushing yards, 7 touchdowns. That's to date, y'all. That's not last season. That is as of right now, as we get ready to face the Cowboys. This dude's an absolute problem. What problems does he present? Well, first of all, personnel. Most times when you have a running back come out in a huddle, the defensive coordinator is going to look and see, hey, they have 1 running back, 1 tight end, 2 receivers. So you come out in your base defense. 3 linebackers, 2 safeties, 2 cornerbacks. But what happens when he comes out and he widens out to the receiver position? Now all of a sudden it's all bad. So personnel groupings wise, you have to be able to match up to him properly, and that's why we have our big nickel personnel. We got Curse back there. We have some other guys that can line up with him. Let's come out in our big nickel personnel so we can handle him, and that we never are allowed to have these mismatches.
Now, with Randy Gregory being out, this is really when we can use another positionless guy like Micah Parsons to step in and kind of be all over the field and follow this guy if need be, correct?
Absolutely. And so with the personnel groupings, right, the one way that we can kind of handle this situation is not allowing them to have mismatches against us. We have some guys such as Micah Parsons that can literally line up with him and go head to head with this gentleman. We have Curse that can line up and go head to head with him. He can run routes. He can rush the ball. He can catch the ball over everybody that's on your roster. Let's not allow this guy to get off the ball and have these advantages. Let's make sure that we have the right personnel groupings and the right guys in terms of Parsons and Curse that can handle him properly, no matter if he wants to stay in the backfield or widen out as a receiver.
And our last one that you have for us is going to be his size and stuff. Let's talk about that, because this is not, your average running back that's 6 foot even and maybe 200 pounds. Tell us about this guy.
This guy right here, first of all, he's an 8-year veteran, so he's savvy. He knows what he's doing. But on top of that, he is 6'2", 220 pounds, and he is willing to come downhill. If he's in the backfield, you better hit him and hit him early, because he has the size to run through you and your linebackers. If he widens out to the receiver position, he's bigger than all the cornerbacks you have. So again, going back to what we talked about, make sure the personnel group is right. Let's go with our big nickel. Let's go with mismatch-wise. Let's not allow that to happen. Let's take our Curse. Let's take our Israel Mukwamu. Let's take our Micah Parsons, stay in his hip pocket, and then let's make sure that we nix any abilities he has so that he doesn't add onto these stats today.
And like you said, with him being an 8-year vet, this man is 30 years old. These stats are almost beating his full season stats that he's ever had in the NFL. And I know his 4.42 is back in the day when he was not 30 years old, but let's just call this man Benjamin Button, because he keeps getting better and better each week, each year, and hopefully we don't have him be as good as he has been in this game. Thank you so much, Isaiah Stanback. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Britt. And Isaiah and Patterson does present a challenge to this defense. The versatility that he brings as both a wide receiver and as a running back currently has him third in the NFL in scrimmage yardage, first in the NFC. What kind of challenge does that present to this Cowboys defense?
It presents a boatload of challenges for this defense because this guy, he has the strength to run up in between the tackles out there. And if you think you can run blitz him, try to shut that down and play man-to-man behind it, they can always motion him out to the slot, match him up on a linebacker, match him up on a safety, and he has the speed that he can outrun those guys and basically rout them to death out there and have success that way. So this is going to be an extremely hard challenge for the Dallas Cowboys, but they have got to know where number 84 is at all times.
See, my thing, Church, is do you do these big nickel packages, the small nickel packages? Where do you put Parsons when in the game? Is it a defensive end? Is it a linebacker? You know what? Be ready just to know where this guy is. I can't pronounce your last name, but you're a bad man.
Oh, it's Patterson.
Yeah.
First name is the one.
Oh, okay. I got it all wrong anyway.
No, you're good. Yeah, you're all flip-flopped. I love it.
Cordarrelle.
Right, let's go back out to.
I'm sorry.
Let's go back out to AT&T Stadium where Nick Eatman is now joined with Stephen Jones.
Thanks so much, Kyle. And we are joined by Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer, here on the sidelines. Cowboys getting ready to go here, and I know you're in a great mood, probably feeling some effects of last night's win in Baton Rouge, but you're ready to get the weekend double and get the win here against Atlanta.
Well, this is a big game for us. Obviously, disappointed what we did last week. We put that in the rearview mirror. I thought Mike really got them rolling and had a great week of practice, great energy. I think the guys understood what they needed to do to really get back on track. And obviously, the Falcons are coming in here, not unlike the Broncos. They'll be ready to go. And so, we're going to have to be ready to play. And certainly they're going to look at the tape and see how the Broncos attacked us, both sides of the ball. And we'll have our hands full, but I think our guys will play well.
A lot of talk about blueprints, and did Denver figure something out? It sounds like from what McCarthy said and Dak both said, I hope so. I hope they play us that way. They didn't seem to worry about it. Or are you worried about Denver finding a blueprint?
No, I'm worried about us execute. At the end of the day, it's all about execution. You got to give the Broncos credit for what they did, but I think if we go out and we play our game and we execute the way we know how to execute, need to get back to running the football. It's what we do best in terms of really being able to execute and run the ball well. I think if we do those things, I think the defense is going to have the energy to fly around like they have all year. Certainly it's always huge to create the turnovers, the ball, and I think we'll play well.
Last year as a rookie, Terrence Steele, he had some issues at times, but he kept fighting as the year went on and played pretty well down the stretch. You think he's always been a bounce-back type of guy? You think he does that this week?
Absolutely. I think that whole group will play better. Lyle had his first action since coming off his suspension. They'll have another week under their belt. I think they'll step up and play well. Obviously, those interior guys have been playing together all year. Certainly need a good performance out of the O-line. And then, of course, Zeke and Pollard, we need those guys to step up big time because if we can run the ball, we can control the clock, keep the defense fresh, and that's a good recipe for our team.
Speaking of bounce back, obviously no one needs to do that more than your quarterback, and he knows that. He said he found a few things in his footwork that he knows he needs to clean up. How confident are you that number 4 plays well?
He's such a fiery competitor. I'm over the top confident on him. He's just such a student of the game. He's such a fierce competitor. He led the way this week in practice, and no doubt in my mind he'll get the job done.
And on the other side, they've got a former MVP, obviously, in Matt Ryan. What do you guys need to do today to kind of get him uncomfortable?
Well, I think just get pressure on him. That's like any quarterback. If you get around him, and especially sometimes these older guys, they don't like getting hit.
Yeah.
And we got to get on there. At the same time, he's a savvy veteran. He knows he's got to get the ball out. And so that'll be a challenge for our defense, but we feel good about it.
One more. I'm sure you won't answer it, but where's Micah Parsons going to play?
All over.
All right. That's good enough. All right. Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. Kyle, we'll throw it back to you.
Probably the biggest roster move for Stephen Jones this week. The Cowboys inactive with Greg Zuerlein. He was placed on the COVID reserve list. Liram Hajrullahu, who will be the kicker today for the Cowboys, played in the preseason for the Cowboys. What are your keys to the game, gentlemen?
Short and sweet, defensive line, get after Matt Ryan, make his job hard.
We need takeaways.
two-way offense, run and pass.
Got to find a way to do all of those things, and the Cowboys should be pretty good in getting to 7-2. We've got post-game coverage coming up after the game here on DallasCowboys.com. But that does it for Cowboys Pregame Live. For Barry, Isaiah, for Nate, Nick, Rob, and Britt, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Enjoy the game, everybody. Noon kickoff on Fox.